Hey everybody, it's Frank and I'm back with you again today to start a brand new video series. This time the theme is about behavioral change. And as many of you know, I'm a counselor by trade. I've done mental health counseling, substance abuse counseling, grief counseling, and all different types of help for folks that I can give under the sun. One thing that comes up a lot is people wanting to change behaviors, specifically in my latest counseling adventure, which has been drug and alcohol counseling for the past decade or so. So, I want to talk to you a little bit about how to effectively change behaviors. This is going to be a fairly short series, maybe 4 entries, maybe 5. We'll see how it goes. About kind of eradicating some of those behaviors in your life that have been counterproductive for you or kind of hamstrung you along the way into getting where you need to go. So, just a little brief intro here. I'm a big believer in self-improvement, and I think if we just maintain, our static type of behavior or the static way of living over time, we don't really gain. All we do is lose. So I'm always looking inward in my own life and see what I could change, not only with overt behaviors, but also with attitudes and just my dealings with others, and constantly just kind of reassessing what I need to do to, to lead a more happier, fulfilled life and be of use to others as well, which has become an increased priority for me as I've been aging. And I noticed that when a lot of people try to change behaviors, it's really not been effective and long lasting. And I had to look and I had to say, well, what's going on here? Why are we always trying to say, well, I got to do this or I got to do that, and then it never sticks. You guys know about the New Year's resolution type stuff that by mid January, that's all history. And specifically in my current field, drug and alcohol counseling, for those of you that don't know, and a lot of you probably don't, the relapse rate for drug addicts and alcoholics in the United States right now runs between 91 and 93%, which is obviously incredibly high. I mean, that would not be acceptable in any other field. I mean, if you had a lawyer that lost 91 to 93% of his cases, I don't think that's a lawyer you'd go to, or a doctor that was not successful with 93% of his patients. That's not it's not a medical health professional that you would seek treatment from. But the problem more so is with the people trying to make the change, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit about why that's difficult and give you some helpful hints as to help you if there's changes you need to make. Um, I believe that if you follow these simple guidelines, you'll have a better chance of success. Is it foolproof? No, of course not. But I'm sure it'll be helpful because I've seen it work. So today, the first step in making any meaningful behavioral change is motivation. Okay, and there are different types of motivation, which I'll get into in a minute. But let's examine what type of thing we're talking about here. I don't care what the behavioral change is, whether you're giving up drinking, quitting smoking, losing weight, going back to school. Our motivations for doing anything are often mixed. Okay, they're not usually one thing or the other specifically. And what I mean by that is there's two main levels to motivation. There's internal motivation and external motivation. And by internal, that's self-explanatory. What it means is this is something I really want to do that I feel is going to benefit me long term, and I'm motivated to do it without any stimuli from the outside coming in or anybody forcing my hand. External stimulation could be a lot of things depending on your life situation. It could be your wife telling you, you really need to lose weight. It could be a friend telling you, you need to stop smoking. It could be somebody saying to you, you need to go back to school. For drugs and alcohol, lots of times the external motivation is a parole officer or probation officer or a judge telling these people, you need to get treatment and stay sober or you're going to jail. After your third DUI or fourth drug bust or what have you. There's also, threats and coercion from other people could be externally motivated. The wife says, hey, I'm tired of your drinking. You either stop drinking or you're out of the house. Parents telling an adult child, I'm not helping you anymore unless you go get help. Okay, these are all fine things, but the problem is Most people rely on external motivations only. And the problem with that is there's not enough buy-in to make it long lasting. So more often than not, it fails. Usually when people come to me for treatment, I ask them first thing, what is your motivation for wanting to make this change, whatever it be? Let's take the drugs and alcohol use because that's the current example. I get a lot of responses. They're like, the PO told me I have to. The judge said they're going to lock me up. But I also get a lot of things like, my wife told me I have to or our relationship is over. I don't get too many, unfortunately, people say, I really want this. I want to do it. Okay, the problem is whenever you use an external motivation, it is a temporary motivation. Therefore, it's less likely to be long lasting. I'll give you an example. And you need to follow me through this because some of it's not going to sound too good right away, but I ask you to let me finish and see if it makes more sense. I have a lot of people that come to me and when I say, why do you want to give up drinking? Why do you want to give up drugs? To say, I want to be a better parent for my children. Okay? Now, I know you would think that maybe my answer should be, wow, that's great, that's wonderful. But I would tell them maybe in a little bit more diplomatic fashion that that's not a great motivation. Or somebody that says, I want to be a better husband. Not a great motivation. And I'm going to explain to you why. I mean, as an associated motivator, it's fine. But if it's your only motivator, it's not. Because here's the simple reality of life, guys, okay? If in fact you're using somebody else as a motivator for you, your children, your parents, your significant other, a friend, whoever, everybody in your life is temporary, okay? Unfortunately, well, I mean, it's just part of life. It's not even that unfortunate. Our children grow older and leave home. If they're the reason that I'm staying sober, well, what happens when they leave? They can take my sobriety with them. Well, I'm doing it for my wife. I'm doing it for my husband. Well, unfortunately, relationships aren't perfect and they break up. So what happens if there's a divorce? Does she take the house, the kids, and your sobriety with you? I'm doing it because I put my parents through a lot. I want them to see a better person. Great, but if that's the only motivation, what happens when your parents are no longer with us? So they're fine associate motivators, but if that's all you got, it's not going to last. So here's the key to today's speech, guys. We need to find a way to be internally motivated to make these changes, to help them last longer, to help them be more sustaining. That gives us the buy-in we need to continue being motivated to not only make this change, but sustain the change once the external motivators are no longer there. It's fine if your PO tells you you have to make a change, but what happens when you're off probation? That external motivation is completely gone. Okay? So whether your change you want to make is quitting smoking or losing weight or getting fit or going back to school or whatever it is, the motivation must come internally if you want it to last. Now, if you have external motivators additionally, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that can't be all you have. Or you can't expect it to be something you're going to sustain over time because you don't have your heart in it 100%. You have other people's hearts in it. And that's not enough to keep you going with some type of sustained change. So we need to find an internal way to get motivated to make these changes. If you don't have any internal motivation, perhaps it's not the right time to make this change yet until you develop that. And that can be developed. Even if your motivators are almost entirely external, over time, you can develop internal motivation through studying how that changing that behavior could be better for you. By really just, ruminating on what this current behavior is doing in your life that is preventing you from getting the places you need to go. So that's it for today. First step in making any meaningful behavioral change is looking at motivation and making sure your motivation is at least mostly internal and not external. In the next set I'm going to do, I should say the next video I'm going to do, I'm going to examine why most behavioral change, even if it's internally motivated, doesn't work, and how we can change that and fix that so maybe we can get sustained change that's going to be long lasting for us. And just spoiler alert, a lot of it has to do with how we focus on behavioral change. A lot of it is focused on a behavioral change rather than something that's going on inside you that's not an overt behavior. And that's all about your mindset, which is what we're going to talk about next time. So as always, thank you so much for tuning into my videos. I hope they're helpful to somebody. You can find them all on my YouTube channel. Just go over to YouTube, type in my name. There aren't too many Frank Sorks out there, fortunately or unfortunately. So again, have a great day, and I'll see you with part 2 of changing behavior very soon. Take care now. Peace.